Chirbet Kaiyahafa is one of the most hotly debated archaeology sites today. Just 20 miles from Jerusalem, the ancient city ruins sit on a hill overlooking the Elah Valley, where the Bible says the Israelites encamped when David slew the giant Goliath. Burned olive pits put through carbon-14 dating tests at Oxford University show this city is more than 3,000 years old. It stood from approximately 1020 BCE to 980 BCE.
If this site was 200 years earlier or 200 years later, it wouldn't be so important. That's the truth. Why it's so important? Because it's from the time of King David. Now, what do we know about David? There is city of David in Jerusalem. But when you go to the city of David in Jerusalem, you can't see even one stone which is absolutely clear from the time of David.
Professor Yossi Garfinkel is the lead archeologist at Chirbet Kaiyafa, where he began excavating in the summer of 2007. He believes he's uncovered a walled Judean city that was part of the kingdom ruled from Jerusalem by the biblical King David. It corresponds, Garfinkel says, with the city the Bible calls Sha'arim. There are a number of clues that lead Garfinkel to believe Judeans from the Israelite kingdom lived here, not Cannanites and not Philistines. A pottery shard was discovered, with what Garfinkel and others argue is the earliest Hebrew inscription.
It said, al tas, don't do. And to do, tas is only in Hebrew. It's not Phoenician and not Canaanite. It's telling you that these people here were not Canaanite, but already speaking Hebrew.
Garfinkel says there's another compelling reason to believe that this city was Judean. After years of excavations, not one single pig bone has ever been recovered, leading him to believe that whoever lived here observed the biblical ban on eating pork. That was typical of Israelite and Judean settlements. For comparison, 20% of the bones excavated from neighboring Philistine cities were from pigs. No graven images and no animal or human figurines were found in the site's cultic or worship rooms, another sign of Judean culture.
Okay, I'm standing now on the outer city wall. Here it's all filled.
And the urban planning is also typical of other Judean settlements, with casemat or double walls that abut private homes. The existence of a fortified Judean city around 1000 BCE supports the idea, Garfinkel says, that a centralized kingdom under King David did exist at that time, as the Bible says. Information on the Israelite leader can be found in the books of Samuel, Kings 1, and Chronicles 1, but little concrete evidence of David's 10th century kingdom over Judah and the united Israel kingdom have been found. That's made the famed warrior, poet, and harp player one of the most controversial figures in biblical archaeology. With only one stele in Israel mentioning the house of David, some argue the Bible greatly exaggerated King David's kingdom, which was said to extend from the Euphrates to Egypt. Some believe David may have only been a local tribal leader or even a bandit.
How do you know that there was a kingdom and urbanized cities in the time of David? This was the main question. And then came our site in, that we have a fortified city. We are located in Judah, and there are the carbon date from Oxford University is from the time of David.
We argue that if we have a fortified city here, with a planning, and with a lot of material, and a lot of finds, and a lot of vessels, and a lot of cultic finds, it means that David is not is a king, is not some, I don't know, a ruined sheikh or something like this.
Sar Ganor discovered the Chirbet Kaiyafa site as a ranger for the Israeli Antiquities Authority, and he's been digging with Garfinkel ever since. Last summer, they found what they call more proof that their site is a Judean city from the time of King David. They dug up these two cultic artifacts, or shrine models, one made of clay, the other limestone.
This is the first time that we have cultic artifacts from the time of King David, which means this is the beginning of official cult in the Kingdom of Judah. And the Kingdom of Judah is where, according to the biblical tradition, monotheism started, an aniconic cult, ban on graven images.
It's the shrine model's detailed design that interests Garfinkel most. He says their style echoes elements of architecture from Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, which is described in the Bible. The models, Garfinkel insists, help us better understand how the first temple, built a generation later in the mid-19th century, may have looked. On the red clay shrine model, it's the folded textile and two pillars which Garfinkel says match what are called the Yachin and Boaz pillars in the biblical description of Solomon's temple. The limestone shrine model matches later biblical descriptions of the entrance of Solomon's temple, like its height to width ratio. And it clarifies, Garfinkel says, that descriptions of 3 windows framing the entrance on 3 sides may have actually referred to lintels.
If you think how the palace looked like, how the building of the palace or the temple looked like, it was basically like this. A very elaborate opening, you have recessed doors, and you also have triglyphs.
Garfinkel's point is that a common Near Eastern style of architecture associated with royalty and urban centers was picked up later by the Israelites, giving more credence to the theory that the Bible's description of Jerusalem's first temple was far from fiction. Political sensitivities have prevented archaeologists from looking for evidence of the temple on Jerusalem's Temple Mount.
All the people who said that there was no temple in Jerusalem in the time of Solomon now has a problem because you have this model and it's fit the biblical tradition and it's from the same time.
But many archaeologists in Israel and abroad disagree with Garfinkel, who's just published a book on his findings. Some call the shrine models a great find, but note similar ones have been found in the region, and so they shouldn't be linked to Jerusalem's temple. Others believe Chirbet Kaiyahafa is a Cannanite city, not Judean. Digging will continue here for 2 more summers, but it's likely debate over the site, over King David and the temple will go on for a lot longer. Jordana Miller, JN1, Jerusalem.